Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hoops Royalty Podcast, the only NBA podcast true to the 901, and we're here ecstatic after a Game 2 victory for the Memphis Grizzlies, 103-93 over the Los Angeles Lakers. King, you had a royal decree last time, now I have a royal decree today. John Konchar is a deed-owning real estate owner in Anthony Davis's head. What do you think?
That one is just too easy. Stamp it. Give it the stamp.
Stamp it.
I have a more basketball-specific version of this royal decree.
Okay.
John Konchar broke Anthony Davis.
Absolutely. He broke it.
Konchar blocked Davis emphatically twice in the first half. Catch the video on our Twitter. And Davis finished this game 4 for 14. Anthony Davis was nothing like the dominant force he was in the first game, and getting blocked by Jitty definitely had something to do with it. So John Konchar owned Anthony Davis's real estate. John Konchar broke Anthony Davis. Stamp it. That's a royal decree.
It was tough to. It was honestly tough to watch because John Konchar came out of nowhere both times, and I think plays like that from role players really define a playoff run in a lot of ways. You know, you have bigger ones like Derek Fisher's shot for the Los Angeles Lakers, but even these smaller ones get you energized within a series. And I think John Konchar and a lot of the role players, which we'll get into, added so much energy off the bench that would usually be taken, that kind of swag, that energy would be usually provided by Ja. So I'm glad John Konchar kind of had that moment, and I think it really energized the players and really had them playing with a lot of swag that we're used to seeing from the Grizzlies. So that was awesome to see. So let's go straight into it. It's late. We're teachers. We got to wake up in the morning. So let's get straight into it. What changed from game one in your opinion? What did you see out there, Kane?
Konchar's block exemplified what changed to me, and that was the Grizzlies were the more physical team in this game. Coming into the series, this was the first time in a while you would look at a Memphis Grizzlies playoff run and say, hey, they're going to have to win with finesse. They're probably not going to be the more physical team in each and every series, particularly not against the Lakers, just this huge front line. But that was not the case today. Today, the Memphis Grizzlies gave absolutely everything they had, and I know effort is cliche and it's hard to quantify, but you could just see it in every play. Now, offensive rebounds, 11-11 in this game. Total rebounds, 49-47. So it's not like the Grizzlies crushed the Lakers on the boards. It's not like they crushed them with turnovers. But when you see Desmond Bane and David Roddy diving on the floor against LeBron and Anthony Davis, when you see Konchar flying out of nowhere to block Davis, when you see the way the Grizzlies stopped the Lakers' transition opportunities in this game, and most of all, how they kept this big Lakers team off the offensive boards, that's effort, pure and simple. That's that 901 energy. And the Grizzlies brought it in game
And this
two.
is something I just wanted to kind of point out. The front line of the Lakers looked outmatched in a lot of ways that they didn't look like in game one, kind of like you were saying. But it didn't seem that the physicality changed in any way. It just seemed like some of the players like Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, even like Santi Aldama, who had 7 defensive rebounds, they were just playing with a lot more energy, that, especially down the stretch, than we expected. I expected the Lakers to make a run, but every time they did, there was kind of a defensive presence, a physicality on one side of the floor, and then, which we'll get to, a more free-flowing type of offense than we're expecting to see without Ja. So let's jump into that. What did you notice from the offensive side of the ball that kind of our predictions were maybe a transition more to half-court offense, running set plays, but that's actually not what we see, and much to the benefit of the Grizzlies. So jump into that for us, King.
First of all, if you just look at the box score, it's a very balanced scoring effort. Xavier Tillman led all Memphis Grizzlies scorers with 22 points, followed by Jaren with 18, Desmond with 17, Kennard with 13, Brooks with 12, Tyus with 10. So there you go. You have 6 players in double figures out of the 8 really in your rotation. I mean, they played Santi Aldama for 14 minutes, so it's kind of a 9-man rotation, but the 8 primary people in your rotation, you had 6 of them in double figures. And that just kind of shows what I wrote about before this game is that the Memphis Grizzlies actually share the basketball more without John Morant on the floor. Their assists per game go up, and I think we saw that. They weren't looking to run the offense through any one person like they were in Game 1, frankly, through Jaren Jackson Jr. And this one, it was just whoever is coming open on this play, we're going to hit him, they're going to hit the shot. And more often than not, that was Xavier Tillman, who went 10 of 13 from the field, scoring those 22 points. Was just hitting every one of those little teardrop floaters we've come to know and love him for.
Yeah, and I think one thing that didn't show up in the stat sheet maybe is, and I guess it does through plus minus, which looked great today. But he was rotating on defense. He looked lively on that side of the ball. There was many times where he kind of stands up Anthony Davis and some of the big men. So he was playing both sides of the ball, which you need. He was plus 10 tonight. These are the things that you want to see. And many times he was on LeBron. And he was moving his feet effectively, and he just looked good out there from a defensive perspective. He played a real all-around game tonight, and it was really exciting to see. You saw kind of even Jaren, even though he still saw some of those ISOs, it was just a much more balanced effort from all sides of the ball, and it was good to see. It was also good to see Desmond Bane kind of take some agency and knock down some shots. And then one thing that we've been preaching since the playoffs started, Luke Kennard needs to pull shots. And it looked better tonight. 3 of 4 from three-point land. Pull-up jumpers. He took agency. He created for himself. Do you think that's something that, comes from Jenkins, or is something Luke Kennard feels? And do you expect to see that more going forward?
After he joined the team, Luke said that more so than anywhere else he'd ever played, the Grizzlies were on him about taking shots when he had the opportunity. That's been kind of the book on him throughout his career, is that he's a hesitant but incredibly efficient three-point shooter. But the Grizzlies have been saying, anytime you catch it with an inch of space, you let it fly. I would actually like to have seen him shoot more than he did. This is the second straight game where he shoots 4 threes. But this time he makes 3 of 4, whereas in Game 1 he was just 1 of 4. And you're seeing the impact he's having on spacing. He was once again plus 6. Was positive in the plus minus in Game 1 as well. And also, this man is out there trying on defense and on the boards. Pulls down 6 rebounds off the bench. All defensive rebounds, but those are the board-stopping plays you need, clean the glass plays you need when you're facing a bigger opponent. You need your guards to come in there and grab defensive rebounds. So yes, is he going to get scored on when Hachimura or LeBron James goes ISO on him? Yes. But he's giving you so much more with his spacing, with his scoring, and even, as we saw, with his energy on the boards.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, one thing that was a hallmark of the offense in Game 1, which was really effective and efficient, was having Jaren go ISO. But we saw the Grizzlies kind of move away from that. Do you like that going into Game 3? Did you like the flow of the offense a little bit better? I think, for me, if you asked me before Game 1, I'm saying go back to ISO Jaren, throw it into him, get those mismatches, and let him go to work, right? He had 31 points last game. I think the balanced scoring effort that Jenkins put forward tonight, those lineups that looked a little weird at times, a little small ball, were super effective at getting the Lakers out of their comfort zone defensively, getting matchups that we didn't want, and letting our guards do some of the scoring that we didn't see. So talk a little bit more about what you think Game 3 will look like from an offensive perspective. Are we going to see ISO Jaren, let him go to work, especially if Ja isn't playing, or are we going back to this kind of more balanced scoring effort?
If Ja is playing, he needs to be more assertive than he was in Game 1. He needs to be the Ja Morant we've come to know and love in the playoffs. Coming into this season, he averages 28 and 9 in the playoffs. He is an offensive force, an unstoppable offensive force, and he wasn't that in Game 1. So if he is out there, let's just make it very clear. I actually want the Grizzlies to run more of their offense through him, not try to be so balanced, because he sucks in all this gravity, and then that's when Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Jaren Jackson, Tyus Jones, and the rest of your shooters, including the big body David Roddy, are going to get open looks. So if Ja's out there, that's the one hand. On the other hand, I think that not going ISO Jaren ball was an intentional move by Jenkins, anticipating the the counter strokes from Darvin Ham and the Lakers staff. I think they knew that Jaren was going to get double teamed, particularly if Ja was not out there. And so they just decided we're not going to run our offense that way. In Game 3, I think that you've got to just adjust to the personnel that you have available, whether that's Morant or not. And I think that we need to see Desmond Bane getting involved like he did early in this game, but staying involved throughout.
Yeah.
I would love to get some more Desmond Bane catch and shoot threes. He's been cold from 3 in this series, but you know he's going to heat up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'd love to see more David Roddy. I think he adds so much energy defensively. You know, you see him a lot on LeBron. You know, I think there's one point in the game where I turn to you and I say, like, LeBron, look, he's going to pass this off. And granted, it was this crazy bullet pass that went for a layup, but David Roddy's forcing the ball out of LeBron's hands. And kind of like we talked about, LeBron had a game. It wasn't the most efficient game on both sides of the ball. He was minus 17, but had 28 points, 10 rebounds or 12 rebounds, 3 assists, right? And we just have to expect games like this to happen. And we should honestly expect at least one of these games in LA to have a good game from both LeBron and Anthony Davis, which we haven't seen really. So let's talk a little bit more about what you saw on the perimeter, right? I think one thing that we saw in Game 1 is we got murdered on the perimeter. You know, you have guys like Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell cooking us. You know, these role players, you know, cook us for a lot of points in the perimeter. What did you notice? What adjustments do you think they made in Game 2 that they can hold, that they can hold on to for Game 3 and 4 to stymie some of this Lakers offense?
They didn't adjust much to Hachimura. Hachimura still, of course, scores 20 points on efficient shooting. They have to let him shoot. You really don't have much of an option. I wrote in my preview that they need to run him off the three-point line, make him be a playmaker, because I don't think he has that in his bag. But at some point, you have to give something up defensively. When you're looking to double-team both LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that's going to leave open shooters. Hachimura is probably the one you want shooting if you look at the season-long statistics. But on Reeves, I thought the Grizzlies did a much better job. When Dillon Brooks was not guarding LeBron James, he was guarding Austin Reeves. Reeves looked uncomfortable. He wasn't getting to the free throw line as easily as he did in Game 1. And they definitely made a conscious effort not to give him open threes. He was just 1 for 3 from beyond the arc. You know, he's a good playmaker when he puts the ball on the floor, but he's most dangerous when he's a catch and shoot and, you know, quick pump fake, make one move, pull up kind of guy. And they kept him from being comfortable enough to do that in this game. That is the kind of defense they need to play on Reeves, who's really the Lakers' third best player at this point.
Which is very surprising. I think if you started at the beginning of the season, you said Austin Reeves was going to kill us, and you know, Rui Hachimura was going to kill us for the Game 1. You would be very surprised and maybe call that person crazy. I think to add on to what you were saying, the issue now becomes like you just can't let guys like Rui and Austin dictate the game to you and really cash open three-pointers and stuff like that. I think what Jenkins and the Grizzlies learned from Game 1 is like you can let, you know, you really can't let LeBron and Anthony Davis kill you, but they will because they're just that they're both generational talents. What you absolutely cannot have is Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura score on top of them. You just won't have a chance. There's no defense that you can play in the world that holds Anthony Davis and LeBron James down for a 7-game series. What you have to be able to close out on and account for is making sure that these guys are covered and taken care of, and there's hands in their face, and they're uncomfortable. Rui Hachimura did not look super comfortable. I mean, he granted had a very efficient game, but he looked less comfortable putting the ball on the floor, driving to the basket. He just looked less comfortable doing that today. He still had a great game. But I think that could be part of the... At one point, he passes up an open layup for a turnaround jumper, which he hits because he's having an out-of-body experience these last 2 games. But I think he is a little hesitant, and putting the ball on the floor for him is uncomfortable. And I think that's what the Grizzlies should be aiming to do in this next game.
Absolutely. Reeves is a good playmaker. Hachimura has no evidence of that. And so with Reeves, you got to be careful. Yes, run him off the three-point line, but he can hurt you with his passing. That's just not the case with Rui. He ain't got that bag. Now, he backed up his game 1 performance. Desmond said, let's see him do it again. He kind of did, 20 points, but let's see him do it a 3rd time. Now, Desmond, if you get back up on the mic and say that, that would be the most Memphis Grizzlies stuff of all time.
That would be very much 901, true to 901.
To your point, Karna, LeBron James has 28 points, leads all scorers in the game, but was a minus 17. I got something that might seem a little spicy, but this is what we're here to do
I'm with you.
on the Hoops Worldly podcast. LeBron looks old.
He does.
He looks
Looks
washed.
old. He looks old, man. He looks old.
Yes, he sees the game so well. When he would suck both Jaren and Tillman out of the paint and then rifle in a pass to a cutting Jared Vanderbilt who can't finish crap, so it didn't matter. But that just shows how he manipulates the court. That he can still do. He doesn't have the physicality anymore. He can't body David Roddy.
Yeah.
He can't body almost anybody who with some size and strength to him. He doesn't look the same. He's not the scariest player in this series.
Absolutely not.
That's definitely Anthony Davis, and the Grizzlies did a pretty darn good job on Davis.
And another thing I'll say, I think, is an indication that he's tired in this series is his three-pointers, right? He takes 8 3-point attempts. He's 1 for 8. The Grizzlies will live with that all day. If you have one of their – great, he still scored 28. Right? He's just going to do that.
He was 11 of 15 inside the arc.
He's one of the greatest players of all time. He's just going to do that from time to time. But 1 for 8 from 3-point range, that many attempts, that few makes, you'll take it. You'll take it every single day. Now, we've talked about a lot of positives, King. I want to throw a negative at you. Desmond Bane foul trouble.
Yeah, for real.
What are the causes? What are you seeing on the floor? Are you worried about in Game 3?
Well, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Dylan Brooks, who hit the 2 of the dagger threes in the fourth quarter. A really deep one with about 7 minutes to go, where then he's all up in LeBron's face, giving him this one. And then he hits the true dagger in the final 2 minutes to put the Grizzlies, I believe, up 11. Basically close the game out. He now for the second straight game played less than 30 minutes. He cannot rein in his aggression in the playoffs. We've seen this over and over again. Dylan is a foul-prone player in the regular season, but he takes it up to a whole new level in the playoffs. And honestly, the Grizzlies need him on the court. We love Roddy. We love what he's doing, but
no one's as good defender as
no one's as good as Brooks. And honestly, you need him at the end of games too for this offense because he's willing to take those big shots. And Dylan is not a good three-point shooter, but for some reason, in the final 5 minutes of a close game, he becomes one.
So he played 23 minutes tonight. Are you targeting about 30 plus in Game 3?
He needs to get to 30 plus. Okay. And then Desmond Bane, on the other hand, once again picks up foul trouble. This game he finishes with 4, but he played 35 minutes. He's kind of able to work through it because you're not giving him the toughest defensive assignment. Whereas Brooks, if he's playing with 5 fouls, he's just not himself. He can't be effective.
So the reason I bring up Desmond Bane, and I would be concerned, there was a lot of times, again, Desmond Bane is on help defense, right? A lot of times, I think 2 or 3 of those fouls come from help defense. He's coming across, he's sliding over to provide another body against some of that Laker physicality. I think they target that in Game 3. If I'm the coach of the Lakers, Darvin, and I'm looking at what I need to do, Desmond Bane has 17 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, but you don't win a game without Desmond Bane on the floor. And if you can limit his minutes lower than 35 because of foul trouble, I'm pretty sure you have a much, much better chance of having a Lakers win. Yeah. So if I'm the coaching staff of the Lakers, I'm looking to put Desmond Bane in as much foul trouble as possible as early as possible in Game 3, especially at home. When the Staples Center is just rocking, or what is it, Crypto Arena or something? Anyway, it'll always be the Staples Center. It's just rocking. I think that you have a really, really good opportunity for your guards to kind of take over, and you still allow some of that big man inside play that Anthony Davis kind of struggled with tonight.
Yeah.
Here's a hot take for Game 3. I think it's going to be Anthony Davis' game. I think he's going to have a big game. If he's not injured, I think he will have a huge game. And I'm not predicting a Lakers win. I just think he will have a 30-plus game.
He's not going to let Tillman give him the business.
He's not going to let him do it again.
That's too much to ask for a 6'8" center in Tillman to hold down Davis for long. That being said, that man is made of glass. Desmond Bane going up to get the jump ball just barely hits him in the eye with like the middle of his forearm, and it draws blood. Mm-hmm. So Anthony Davis making it through a 7-game series would be very surprising. Mm-hmm. That's why the Grizzlies just need to extend this thing as long as they can. Health, youth, intensity favors the Grizzlies if they get to a Game 7. They got to weather 3 games on the road before then, assuming all those games happen. And, of course, the story is going to be, can they pick up one in L.A.?
I think they can. And I think it's going to take a good shooting performance from Desmond Bane to really turn the tide in the series and really have some statement wins.
6 of 18 for him from the field in both of the first 2 games. It's just he got off to a really hot start in this game and then went totally cold. It reminded me of that 76ers game right out of the All-Star break back in February where Bane scored 20 points in the first quarter and then did nothing after that. Sometimes when he gets off to these starts, he just cools off. And, you know, people say that Desmond Bane has not been the same since his toe injury all the way back in November.
Yeah, he missed how many games?
He missed basically a month, but then it seemed like he just kind of came back because it wasn't getting better. You know, it wasn't one of those situations where he was healed up, ready to go. That may be affecting him late in games, but whatever it is, the Grizzlies need Desmond Bane to go better than 6 of 18 from the field, and they really need him to be better than the 4 of 16 that he's been from beyond the arc. That 25% three-point shooting for Desmond Bane, not going to get it done. He had some open looks. Those are going to start dropping, and when that does, that's just another boost to the Grizzlies' offense.
And I think what's really hardening here for the Grizzlies is that you beat the Lakers without your best player in kind of almost dominant fashion. It never felt like the Lakers were really as in it as the Grizzlies were. It never felt like the Grizzlies were threatened because every time the Lakers would kind of make a run, there would either be a defensive stop, key rebounding, which was a huge thing. Xavier Tillman, one offensive rebound to put the death knell in the game. Timely rebounding is going to be important for this series too. There was always something that the Grizzlies were doing to kind of keep the Lakers down. Yeah. Last thing I wanted to do, we made some predictions at the end of, or some things that we'd like to see at the end of the last podcast. One of them was Luke Kennard and David Roddy usage. I think either Taylor Jenkins and the coaching staff are listening to our podcast.
They better be.
Or they came to this thought independently. Either way, it worked out for them tonight. They both look good on the floor. And I think we'll see that continue. Do you see any other kind of X factors coming out in the next game? Any predictions? A Zaire Williams game, a Kenny Lofton Jr. game, any Santi Aldama. Maybe he scores points this time in Game 3.
Could not do that in this one. At some point, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to be able to play the 40 minutes that he played tonight. We haven't talked about this. This is the second straight game that Jaren has stayed out of foul trouble against a huge front court that is absolutely determined to get him in foul trouble in the beginning of the game. But there's going to be a game where he doesn't do that. Maybe it's Game 3. I do think the door would be open for a Santi Aldama and maybe even for a Kenny Lofton to have a big game. But I also think the door would be open for the Grizzlies to go super small. Let's see some Tyus Jones. Let's assume Ja's not playing. Some Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, David Roddy, Xavier Tillman minutes. Let's just see it. Spread them out. Yeah. Look to run on every rebound. Look to force turnovers. And trust Tyus' ability to facilitate. He averages 8 assists as a starter. He had 8 assists again today. So if you do end up with Jaren in foul trouble, I think that the gang rebounding the Grizzlies showed today is evidence that if they do go small, they can still kind of hang in there.
Match physicality. Yeah. David Roddy and Xavier Tillman can still match physicality. They don't come in from a height perspective, but those boys been hitting the weight room or something because they look big, they look strong, they look athletic today.
Yeah. That's a switch everything lineup too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Tillman doesn't get talked about
tonight. He moved his feet tonight.
This man guards LeBron and AD.
Yeah, he was sitting on LeBron tonight. I was very happy with that. He's also a shooter, 50%. 1 for 2.
Bingo.
Huge.
Throwback to the play-in game against
Stretch
the Warriors when Tillman hit 2 huge threes late in that game. People forget that Tillman as a rookie was a shooter. He seemed to have lost it, but perhaps it's coming back at the right time.
All right, King. Let's wrap this up, man. Predictions for Game 3. What are we looking at? Finals? We talking Grizzlies win? We talking Lakers win? Who's having the big game? Who's not? What are we thinking?
I'm thinking the Grizzlies win Game 3 and lose Game 4.
Okay.
I think they're going to take the momentum from this win. The Lakers have to be reeling from the physicality the Grizzlies showed them. Mm-hmm. And if you hear like the national media conversation, even the TNT pregame conversation, they're like, yeah, it would be an embarrassment for the Lakers to lose this game. Stephen A. Smith declared the series over before Game 2. This was a bit of a shock to the system. The Lakers knew it wasn't over, but they certainly walked into this game thinking they were going to win. Yeah. And instead, they get punched in the mouth. I think the Grizzlies carry that over in Game 3. Shock the world in LA. Can't continue the momentum in Game 4. Comes back to Memphis 2.
I want to comment on something real quick. This is a testament to how little the national media watches the Grizzlies. Like, they just don't. I don't think they completely understand how the Grizzlies function with and without Ja, because they don't watch them on a night-to-night basis, and it's fairly obvious. If you call the series over after one game in FedEx Forum, that's just a crazy take. And that's what they're paid to do. I get it, but yeah. Obviously, they don't watch a lot of Grizzlies basketball, and we do. So I don't think there's any doubt for at least 1 or 2 more wins in the series. But I want to see any change on the Lakers in 7 from podcast 1?
Well, I was saying if Ja comes back,
yeah,
I'm going to take Grizzlies in 7.
Mm-hmm.
If Ja does not come back, I'm taking Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6.
I see Ja coming back based on the comments. We haven't talked about this at all, but Taylor Jenkins yesterday called it a tolerance thing. Today said that he was progressing, that he just needed to be comfortable dribbling and shooting, and then all of a sudden an hour before we find out he's not playing. There is no major injury, at least not that has been reported. I think he just couldn't handle the ball today. Give him 3 more days, more treatment. I bet he can. And I think that Sunday was the belly of the whale for the Grizzlies. Sunday was the belly of the whale for the Grizzlies, losing Game 1 at home, Ja getting injured. They're about to climb out of that and win this series in 7.
Yeah, I'm firm. Memphis in 7. Ja, no Ja, Memphis in 7. I think the team looks good with him, looks good without him. They have the right players. They have a balanced scoring. They have internal defense like you read about tonight. I'm super excited. I think Grizzlies in 7, and I'm not changing that. I predict. So for my prediction for Game 3, I think it's a Grizzlies win. I think Desmond Bane has a big game, and I think Anthony Davis has a big game. It's just whoever's gonna have the bigger game.
This was a very low-scoring game. My prediction for Game 3 is that the pace of this game was high, but the pace of Game 3 is even higher, and that it is a game decided in the 120s, perhaps 130s.
Do you think the faster pace benefits the Grizzlies or the Lakers?
Absolutely benefits the Grizzlies if you look at the whole season.
Yeah.
In this series, fast break points have actually favored the Lakers. That's not going to continue with how old they are.
But I don't think that tells the whole story for how the Grizzlies play with pace. I think some of our data outlets kind of track fast break is the only way to think about transition. Yeah. But the way that they were moving tonight was very quick in the shot clock, very just really strong stuff from the Grizzlies, very decisive play from the Grizzlies. Now, that may not be classified as transition, but the shots were going up, they were falling when they needed to, and I predict the same will happen in Game 3.
To me, the biggest question in this series is a pretty minor thing. Is this game, Game 2, evidence that the Grizzlies can hang in the front court, that they can keep the Lakers off the boards, or was this a one-game aberration? Because if the Grizzlies can keep the Lakers off the boards in this series, they will win. Yeah. They have the skill advantage, with or without Ja. The question is, can Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson, and the rest of the crew rebound the way that they did today? If so, you're feeling pretty good about
those
the
questions
boys in the
will be
901.
answered. Those questions will be answered. Game 3, we will have an instant reaction and a halftime reaction as well. We will see you there. This has been Hoops Royalty with Karna and
King Jemison. Whoop that trick.
Yeah, we'll see you.